Okay, this is a birthday present for someone very special, who's a woman who is turning 20, which is a grown-up age. I want to make a video to explain that Oregon has a problem with child abuse on a major, major level. Oregon, the state, harbors child sexual abusers and furthermore exonerates them and elevates them into position of power. And for someone who is so young, it is so difficult to explain how completely creepy and corrupt Oregon is. When I first moved to Oregon, after being born here and then growing up elsewhere, I was astounded that multiple mayors of the city of Portland had pedophilia issues. And that furthermore, everybody in the Portland city establishment was bending over backwards to kiss their feet. And I was like, how is that even possible? And then I'm really shocked and appalled to have just found photography of the governor, Kate Brown, Ted Wheeler, the new mayor of Portland, and Commissioner Fish, an old city council guy who's been on council forever, with a pastor who self-admitted raping his 12 and 13-year-old child relative. Some kind of incest rape. I don't know what, cousin, niece, daughter, stepdaughter, half-daughter, I don't know. And he paid for her counseling. He admitted it. A lot of the web cleans itself up. And for instance, even within activist communities, someone who is getting, my heart is pounding, this issue is so terrible. But this fellow, he strangled his ex, who was a minor. And it doesn't matter that she was his ex. She was a human person who should not be strangled on Women's Day in 2 days or any other day of the year. No woman should ever be strangled. And I've been blocked on Twitter by Gregory McKelvey because he was charged with strangulation and won't come out. So what's the difference between holding the police chief, Mike Marshman, City of Portland Police Chief Mike Marshman, accountable for strangling his teenage son versus, self-appointed leader of activism or Portland resistance, Gregory McKelvey, with his charges of strangulation? Both of them need to show up and give answers. And I think one of the difficulties with the child sexual abuse is that this purported, he's come good with God and he's revamped his image or whatever. He's now cool. And he's doing community service work, which I get. But that also includes portraying himself as a pastor, hugging children. And for me, being raised around the Catholics, I don't care if you call yourself a pastor or a priest or whatever. If you're a child sexual abuser, you need to stay the hell away from children. And when Ted Wheeler puts his face right next to this guy who admitted, it's not a controversy, it's not an allegation that he raped his relative. And then Ted Wheeler puts his face on it, and Kate Brown puts her face on it. The exoneration that went on for Sam Adams, sexually abusing the teenager from a position of power, which was an imbalance of power relationship, which caused a lot of mental and psychological stress for the victim. We have also the Terry Bean Democrat fundraiser guy who tried to give $200,000 to his child sexual assault victim. And solicitation of sex work from a minor is a crime. So trying to add another crime to your pre-existing crime to cover up your crime is not working with people who care about children. So when the Democrats kind of try to smooth it all over and act like they're in the clear, I think it's kind of sad. There is an activist in Portland who gets a lot of trolling online, video, makes a lot of films, and he has some kind of sexual offense. And I don't know what it is. I can't find it. Maybe I should just be like, I've confronted him and said, so what's the deal? I hear you're a sexual offender. And Portland's just pretty wishy-washy about things like that. And he's making a lot of good content. So people value that. What did he do? I was told he verbally threatened rape. That's Bob West. Which I don't know if that's true. I don't know if maybe he also raped. So why are people hanging out with rapists in Oregon? It's creepy, it's not safe. The activists who are the leftists will block you if you dare question their omnipotent authority to be immaculate and pure. I think Gregory McKelvey can be like, yeah, I strangled an underage girl and now I'm your leader. If you want to be like that, I think it would be at least better to be out in the open with what happened. Or if you want to say the police lied, that would be an alternative explanation. But just blocking me on Twitter, that actually makes it look worse. It looks like you have something to hide. Like, for instance, working with Paul Ryan, who's obsessed with abortion and hates women, evidently, or wants to force women to have children of their rapists. So it's a bad, nasty world in Oregon. It's creepy. I don't know where to begin. I think some of the people, including, say, David Keith Davis, who are tough on child sexual abuse, and Terry Bean, and Sam Adams, and Neil Goldschmidt, the mayor who raped his babysitter and got away with it and became governor, destroyed her life. They need to have the same level of accountability they have for Matt Hennessee, for Sam Adams, for Neil Goldschmidt, for Terry Bean, and have the same level of accountability for Bob West. Find out what he really did. Get something in writing, because Bob is just really vague if you try to ask him. And what has ended up happening is this is all snowballed into the James Dunphy has a stalking order on David Keith Davis because he's wrongly commuted Bob West's sex offense history into David Keith Davis's identity, had a persona mix up, wrong person, and then lied to a judge, falsely alleging he's convicted of sex offenses or committed sex offenses. No such thing. So his record has been tarred by associating. So similarly, if Ted Wheeler wants to hang out with that rapist over there, maybe Ted Wheeler's going to get accused of sexual offenses. Being light on sexual offenses, I think, can create adverse publicity and confusion, because it sends a really strong message to sexual assault survivors that they don't matter. And I think in a way what ends up happening is the police are so brutal to both men and women alike, is that people tend to rely on Bob West's physical size and presence as some kind of almost like alternative security. And he is generally a very nice person. And I'm not saying that sexual offenders, rapists can't heal and progress, but how society reintegrates them without insulting the reality of victims' horror, their post-traumatic stress. And I don't think the mayor is helping things by trying to smooth it over with every sex pest who can jump into a selfie with him, and then demonizing innocent people with false allegations of sexual offenses. It's not just like some sloppy paint you can throw around. I think there needs to be more clear delineation about whether or not you're perjuring yourself, whether or not you're willing to lie in a court, whether or not credit and blame and credit, where is that all of that allocated? And it's not fair for Nick Fish's staffer to falsely allege that someone's a sex offender when Nick Fish is hanging out with an admitted child sex abuser, child rapist. Oh, and Nick Fish is a commissioner. You'd think he'd know better. You'd think he'd have better researchers on his team, and I think he basically doesn't, because his idiot staffer, Jim Blackwood, is trapping himself into saying a bunch of racist and anti-homeless stuff on Facebook. So people are like snapping the JPEGs of his staffer who doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut on Facebook when he's saying offensive stuff. So Nick Fish needs to like wake up and realize Jamie Dunphy maybe is a little too déclassé, anti-Semitic, stalkery, creepy, fraidy cat, irrational, not listening. And maybe Nick Fish can fire Jamie Dunphy, and then that little loophole. I mean, is Jamie Dunphy so desperate for his job that he's willing to lie in a court based on some mistaken identity claim? I think David Keefe Davis is rowdy, but his work is too good on very special issues: police brutality, child sexual abuse, Democratic finance campaign contribution corruption, which I think gagging someone who's a whistleblower and retaliating there should not, if you're going to commit that crime, which is a violation of the U.S. say PDX settlement agreement about police brutality, it should not be so clearly obvious. That's too obvious. I'm not telling Nick Fish to be a better criminal, but it looks really foul after Keefe Davis was filming the Barry Joe Stoll arrest and brutalization at City Council and was smashed up and attacked by the G4S so-called security. I don't live there anymore. I don't live in Portland. You can see why.